At exactly 2:58 p.m., Senator Mazie Hirono pulled up devastating data breakdown charts and stated numbers that would haunt Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi forever. 89%. 89% of Epstein files-connected cases dismissed under her Florida AG watch, with 1,340 victims abandoned forever, with Bondi's prosecution signature authorizing their case closures. What happened in the next 14 minutes would prove that Florida's dismissal pattern wasn't prosecutorial discretion, it was systematic evidence destruction. Cameras captured every trembling denial, every moment of Bondi's complete professional disintegration. The Hart Senate Building's Judiciary Committee hearing room carried the weight of constitutional accountability delayed. Large screens flanked both sides of the chamber. Today, they would display prosecutorial corruption so devastating it would end a career in real time. Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi sat confidently behind the witness table, claiming her Florida prosecution record demonstrated unwavering commitment to justice and victim advocacy. What she didn't know was that Senator Hirono had conducted forensic analysis of Florida's prosecution database, uncovering systematic victim abandonment, so methodical it could only be intentional. Senator Mazie Hirono brought unique qualifications: former prosecutor who understood case management with surgical precision, immigration attorney who'd represented trafficking victims, and a reputation for using visual evidence that made denials impossible. Today, Hirono had obtained forensic analysis of exactly which Epstein files cases had been dismissed, when they were dismissed, and the digital trail proving these weren't random prosecutorial decisions, but coordinated evidence suppression through technological manipulation. The confirmation hearing had covered Bondi's Florida record for hours. Bondi maintained her polished narrative, tough prosecutorial decisions based on evidence quality, but Hirono was waiting to show the committee exactly which victims Bondi had abandoned, using Florida's own database to prove systematic corruption. "Miss Bondi," Hirono began, voice carrying calm precision of someone about to present career-ending evidence. "You've testified that your Florida prosecution decisions were based on evidence quality and victim advocacy. Is that still your testimony under oath?" Bondi maintained her confident posture. "Yes, Senator. Our office maintained the highest standards of prosecutorial integrity while achieving record conviction rates." "I'd like to show the committee what cases were actually dismissed," Hirono interrupted, because the technological analysis tells a very different story than evidence-based prosecution. She pressed her tablet. The screens exploded with forensic breakdown that made committee members audibly gasp. "This is digital forensic analysis of dismissed cases during your tenure, Miss Bondi. Exact technological data from Florida's prosecution management system." The chart was devastating in mathematical precision. The largest segment, colored deep red, dominated every screen. 89%, Hirono stated, letting the number hang in absolute silence. 89% of cases involving Jeffrey Epstein's network were systematically dismissed under your direct authority. Bondi's confident expression flickered. 89% wasn't prosecutorial discretion, it was systematic protection. "But let me show you something even more damning," Hirono continued, pressing another button. "We can see exactly how these cases were dismissed." The screen transformed, showing database manipulation that made the systematic nature undeniable. "This is Florida's crime-just prosecutorial prosecution database, showing case disposition codes. Standard prosecutorial discretion uses code PD1, insufficient evidence. But look at what code was used for Epstein files cases." A new screen appeared, showing disposition codes proving intentional suppression. Code PD7, administrative closure. This code is reserved for cases involving political sensitivity. It requires Attorney General personal authorization. The technological evidence was damning. Bondi hadn't just dismissed cases, she'd used special administrative codes designed for political protection. "Let me break down what 89% dismissal using PD7 codes actually means," Hirono read from screens displaying specific data. Trafficking victim cases, 487 dismissed using PD7 political protection codes. Sexual assault victim cases, 392 dismissed using PD7. Minor victim exploitation, 461 dismissed using PD7. Each number hit like a physical blow. These were specific technological decisions documented in Florida's databases. Financial exploitation, 234 dismissed. Witness intimidation, 178 dismissed. Evidence tampering, 156 dismissed, all using PD7 political protection codes. Bondi attempted to interrupt, voice showing stress. Senator, prosecutorial decisions involve complex evidence evaluations. Complex evidence evaluations? Hirono cut her off with devastating precision. Let me show you why that doesn't work. The screen's filled with database comparisons proving selective protection. If this was evidence-based discretion, CrimeJust would show consistent disposition codes across similar cases. But look what actually happened. The comparison was mathematically impossible to dispute. Identical case types involving non-connected defendants showed standard PD1 codes. Identical cases involving Epstein network defendants showed PD7 political protection codes. Ms. Bondi, what are the odds that evidence quality would be so consistently different for identical case types that it would require different codes based solely on defendant identity? But Hirono wasn't finished demolishing Bondi's credibility. The database manipulation gets even more sophisticated, she continued. We can correlate PD7 codes with financial contribution data and see exactly why political protection protocols were activated. The screen showed correlation analysis that would end Bondi's confirmation. This is Florida's CrimeJust database, overlaid with campaign finance records, showing correlation between political donations and prosecution codes. The analysis was devastating. Cases involving donors showed 91% PD7 political protection codes. Cases involving non-donors showed 2% PD7 usage. Defendants who donated to your campaigns had 91% chance of receiving PD7 political protection. Defendants with no political connections had 2% chance. At 3:05 p.m., Bondi experienced first signs of professional breakdown that cameras captured for posterity. Her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. The confident political operative was realizing the scope of technological evidence arrayed against her. Senator, you're misinterpreting database correlation data, Bondi stammered, voice cracking. Campaign contributions have no bearing on prosecutorial decisions. Let's examine the database authorization process, Hirono interrupted. The technological trail shows exactly who authorized these political protection codes. The screen displayed Florida's database authorization logs with timestamps, biometric confirmations, and digital signatures, making denial impossible. CrimeJust requires specific biometric authorization for PD7 codes, Attorney General fingerprint scan, retinal verification, and digital signature. The screen showed authorization logs proving personal involvement, biometric confirmation, Pamela Bondi fingerprint verified, digital signature authorized by Pamela Bondi. Timestamp logs show 847 separate authorizations between 2012 and 2017, all from your office, all requiring your physical presence, all using your biometric verification. Hirono looked directly at Bondi, whose face had gone ashen. You personally provided biometric authorization for political protection codes 847 times. Is that correct? Bondi attempted to challenge the evidence, revealing desperation. Database systems can experience technical irregularities that might create misleading patterns. Technical irregularities? Hirono's voice carried incredulity. Let me show you what your irregularities actually prioritized. The screen showed cases Bondi prosecuted with full resources during the same period. While using PD7 political protection for 1,340 trafficking victims, you used PD0 maximum prosecution codes for these cases. The screen displayed Bondi's actual priorities. Marijuana possession, 2,847 cases, maximum prosecution. Shoplifting, 1,923 cases, maximum prosecution. Traffic violations, 3,156 cases, maximum prosecution. You had resources for maximum prosecution of 7,926 minor infractions, but needed political protection codes for 1,340 trafficking victims. That's systematic priority inversion. At 3:11 p.m., Hirono delivered evidence that would trigger Bondi's complete collapse. We can see exactly what evidence was technologically suppressed when you used PD7 codes. She pulled up screens showing evidence that had been digitally buried. Digital evidence suppressed, 2,847 video files, 12,456 audio recordings, 89,234 photographic evidence files. These are evidence files marked administratively sealed when you authorized PD7 codes. 2,847 videos showing exploitation, 12,456 audio recordings of criminal coordination, 89,234 photographs documenting abuse. At 3:12 p.m., Pam Bondi experienced complete professional breakdown as the technological scope of her victim abandonment was displayed on national television. She stood abruptly, chair scraping loudly, composure shattered. This is a coordinated attack using misleading database interpretations to destroy my confirmation. "Sit down, Miss Bondi," Hirono commanded. "The technological evidence isn't finished." But Bondi remained standing, hands trembling as she pointed at screens. "Those correlations are taken out of context. You're weaponizing prosecution technology." The image of an attorney general nominee having a meltdown would replay millions of times. Hirono pulled up her final screen, victim impact statements technologically buried under Bondi's authorizations. These are victim statements marked as sealed under your PD7 authorizations. I provided video evidence of my trafficking. It was verified. Then it disappeared under administrative seal. My trafficker donated $50,000 to the Attorney General's campaign. My assault was recorded. 6 months later, it was administratively sealed. My attacker's lawyer donated to political campaigns. Hirono's voice carried devastating finality. You didn't protect victims. You used technology to protect their abusers. You used databases to seal evidence and protect donors. She gestured to screens displaying irrefutable proof. 847 biometric authorizations, 1,340 victim cases dismissed, 2,847 evidence videos sealed, 91% correlation with donations, all documented in Florida's own database. As Bondi stood trembling, Hirono delivered her constitutional verdict. This wasn't prosecutorial discretion. This was technological evidence suppression. You can't claim irregularities when we have your biometric authorizations, digital signatures, and analysis proving systematic victim abandonment for political protection. Within minutes, #Bondi database began trending worldwide as America processed the scope of victim abandonment proven through Florida's own technology. The technological evidence was irrefutable, the victim abandonment undeniable, and Bondi's confirmation ended by her own digital signatures.